I didn't get your question, but I'll go in the direction of the last speaker, what she put forward. I know very well that it appears that the Rivers political elites take relish in political gladiatorship, one after the other. History is bearing us witness to that. But I'll tell you that it was quite unfortunate that the president had to intervene in the manner he did. He meant very well. He's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He's the father of the nation, and he cannot fold his hands and see a thing like that go on. But I think he didn't get quite the proper advice from his handlers, who should have told him that this is purely a constitutional matter, and you don't intervene in that matter, in that manner. In the first place, you will not call that agreement they wrote a constitutional document or one that is attached to the Constitution or a charter of government or instrument of governance or whatever name you want to label it. It is not. And we don't see any provision in the Constitution that gives fillip or support to that type of arrangement. Everything is within the Constitution. It's a living document. I went through constitutional principles last night in preparation for this interview, and I got to understand that there are three manners that you can approach the Constitution to understand what it is telling you. One is through the textualism approach. There's also the originalism approach. There's also the approach in which you construe the Constitution as a living instrument. And the threshold is on the first two, textualism and originalism, which also panders to the interest of the will of the lawmakers. Then the last one, which is originalism, has to do with the people, which is the sovereignty. None of these came into play in the drafting of that document, in the acceptance of that document, and what have you. My only blame for Fubara is that he went ahead and, in the interest of peace, took the whole instrument, hook, line, and sinker. Whereas people were, contrary to the advice of a lot of people who have told him the implications. At the end of the day, he resigned from it. So he should be a gentleman to the court to that effect. But I'll tell you that nobody is bound by that document. The people of Rivers State are not bound by that document. Even no attempt was made to give it some form of legitimacy by saying, okay, let us conduct a plebiscite or a referendum to ascertain the will of the people, the position of the masses. They are the owners of government. Those members representing them are representing them directly, and not maybe they are politicians or political elites. So as far as I'm concerned, that approach was not properly done. And the issue of the defection also, I would say that it's a primary function of every democratic system to abide by the rules of the Constitution. Due process of the law, supremacy of the Constitution, the theory of separation of powers, these basic doctrines. And it's not just a provision in our Constitution alone, but that if you come with a particular mandate of a particular political party and you go to the other side, you lose your seat. Incidentally, our Constitution only made provision for one aspect of it, which is the legislature. He didn't talk about the executive. But I was very excited when the Federal High Court sacked the former governor of Ebonyi State on that basis. And again, disappointed when the Court of Appeal came in and said, but we know that it is the tradition all over the world that if you have the mandate of a particular political party and you move with your seat, you go away. And now somebody will be very, it's a very difficult task for anybody to be convinced that the pact or the agreement or the peace agreement entered is sufficient to keep the members of the House of Assembly there. Having moved away, that instrument is not the will of the people. It doesn't emanate from the people. Even if it does emanate from the people, considering, for instance, that a plebiscite or a referendum was conducted, it cannot sufficiently put the members who have defected back to their positions. Constitutional instruments must be respected. It's a sacred instrument. It must be attached to every bit of sacrosanctity. We know how much so many of us struggled in the Adeko days and all that to bring in this constitutional ambience, this democratic ambience. And everything hangs on the Constitution. If you go beyond the Constitution to bring extraneous factors, extraneous issues matters that are clearly aberrational of constitutional provisions, then you're creating a threat to that democracy. And some of us who have been in the activists' ray, for quite some time will not allow that to happen. The president shouldn't have intervened. Now, in all these scenarios, nobody has talked about the position of the people of Rivers State. Has they expressed themselves in any manner? Have they done anything to show that this is the direction our thoughts are going, this is the direction our interests are going? Then what else is constitutionalism? What else is democracy? Social justice encapsulates every aspect of representation, every aspect of politicking, every aspect of governance. And for you to get a proper thing, then you make sure you do it very well. And the courts that are supposed to intervene did not intervene. We met a galaxy of indiscretions by the courts. One court was giving an order restraining the governor from not recognizing a particular body. Another court was given an order restraining that this other body should be recognized. One other court is saying the local government's revenue and fund should not be withheld by the governor. Another court, they are running over themselves, trying to please whoever, and that is totally wrong, because that's why we are saying that the NJC should not stop, the National Judicial Council should not stop at reviewing the decisions of the courts or the performance of the judges. They should be very active in ensuring that when you have a whole lot of cases, different cases from the political elite here and there looking for one relief or the other, a system should be put in place to bring all these cases together in a form of consolidation. Because the core issues before the court is the issue of the defection, the validity or legality or constitutionality of the agreement, which none of the courts have made a pronouncement on. So that action of circumventing the provisions of the Constitution, going this way and doing that way, which is the manner of politicians, should be discouraged. And that's why we still say, just like the body of senior advocates of Nigeria said the other day, that a constitutional court be created specifically for this purpose.